Hey guys, I'm going to take you on a journey.
We interrupt you from this podcast to bring you this special message. This podcast is not for children. There's occasional use of explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised. A journey? A journey. A journey. A journey. A journey.
Shut up! Sorry guys, those are the voices again. Welcome to the first episode of our podcast, 21st Century Schizoid Man. My name is Mav. Hold on, yo, do you hear that?
Hear what?
That music.
No, man, what are you talking about?
Oh shit, you guys are in for a trip.
I guess. My name is Mayo.
The Dark Passenger.
Wait, what?
Bro, I just said my name. Are you tweaking already?
You didn't just say Dark Passenger just now?
No.
Bro, I think it's the voices.
All right. Let me try this again. My name is Mayo, and I guess I'm the trusted sidekick that's here to make sure this thing doesn't go too far off the rails.
That's gonna be a challenge. Seeing as how my whole life has been off rails for like the last 10 years, you got your work cut out for you, buddy. Maybe some good can come out of this, right? I mean, it can't all be bad.
This beat was made by the 21st Century Schizoid Man. Now, enjoy the podcast.
So I kind of wanted to start this episode off by talking about these Briggs Meyers personality tests we took.
Yeah, I took that bullshit ass personality test you told me to take.
Bullshit. Why do you say that?
Yeah. This shit says I'm an uninteresting ass millennial that probably works a 9 to 5 but wishes he could get out of the monotony of a boring ass day job. Probably never been to jail, Juvie, or in any actual trouble. It says I follow the same exact schedule every day, and it also says I have to plan ahead just to hang out with people. I mean, it says, it says I have a weekday bedtime, which I do. I mean, maybe half of these things are true. Maybe, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm not saying why you're so mad at the results.
Dog, this thing said I'm a boring ass millennial. How would you react to that shit?
Well, you are a boring ass millennial. You want to hear mine? It says I'm fucking nuts. It says that I can't sit still for more than 10 minutes. I literally live in a fantasy world. No, I really live in a fantasy world. Some days I wake up Mickey Mouse and go to sleep Eric Cartman, defending Kanye West's love for fish sticks. I mean, sometimes I wake up with Tourette's or something screaming, I am T'Challa for no reason. It says that I probably have 5 or so voices that dictate half the decisions I make, which I do. I mean, one time it told me to jump out of a moving car, and I did. Sometimes they tell me to pick fights with random people, sometimes big people. I mean really big people, like 3 times my size, and I lose. Sometimes I think I'm a mob boss and the mafia was named after prophecies of me. Fun story, I've been to Juvie.
Yeah, you ain't no boring ass millennial though. All right, chill, it's all jokes. Remember, like, these people can't actually hear you give me the side eye.
I wish they could see all the emoticons I'm giving you right now.
Whatever. Oh, by the way, you mentioned T'Challa earlier. I just want to do a quick rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. A great guy. You really never know what somebody's going through when they're, you really never know the struggles somebody's going through. Just kind of low-key, kind of sometimes similar to what you've been going through, right?
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't even know, like, some of the things you struggle with. So, but on a less somber note, I guess we should probably get into the topic of today's episode, dealing with your first mental health episode. So real quick, I want to give a little context for the reason why we started this podcast. So we wanted to use this platform as a way to educate and entertain those experiencing mental health issues. Whether you're the one experiencing the mental illness yourself, or you're a friend or family member that is helping someone to cope with their mental health issues.
This podcast spotlights issues that are seen as untouched or taboo in communities, such as recognizing warning signs, seeking professional help, and coping in a unified effort with those who support you. It's my comeback story with a theme of redemption, taking back my narrative and sharing some of my personal experiences, some of which have been absolutely crazy. and then exposing you as the audience to the community without all the stiffness of professional consult. We hope to curate a platform of free expression and like-minded creativity. Welcome to all backgrounds. Just a disclaimer, we may ruffle some feathers along the way. Also, I completely forgot to mention my diagnosis. I'm paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah, so, I mean, just from witnessing some of the things you've been going through over the last few years, schizophrenia seems to be either the most difficult or one of the most difficult mental health issues to deal with. Talking about mental health has become extremely popular these days. Unfortunately, I don't think we get to hear from the people that suffer from some of the more serious mental health issues. I think the reason for this is both due to the severity of some of the symptoms and stigma attached to the diagnosis. I know you kind of glossed over in that fake Briggs Meyers segment we talked about earlier, but could you give the audience, I guess, an idea of some of the things that people with schizophrenia go through?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm going to go off the Mayo Clinic's official definitions as far as symptoms go. Well, they start off with delusions. These are false beliefs that are not based in reality. For example, you think that you are being harassed or harmed. Certain gestures or comments are directed at you. You have exceptional ability or fame. Another person is in love with you. Or a major catastrophe is about to occur. Delusions occur in most people with schizophrenia.
Yeah, damn. I think I've seen you have all of those. Like literally. Keep going.
The sudden attaining of an extravagant lifestyle as a compensation for my sanity. No matter how hard I refuse, the delusion always persists in the end. Hallucinations. These usually involve seeing or hearing things that don't exist. Yet for the person with schizophrenia, they have the full force and impact of a normal experience. Hallucinations can be in any of the senses, but hearing voices is the most common. Yeah, I definitely identify with this one. I remember hearing a voice tell me to piss on the side of a major road in broad daylight after the same voice told me to run my own personal marathon across the city. It did not end well.
Marathon across the city. Was this when you were in Detroit?
This was when you were in Nigeria.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the Nigerian trip, isn't that when we had the police called on us at the airport?
Really? No, that was.
Was that the time? Yeah, wasn't that the time?
That was a different time.
Okay.
That was when I was with mommy.
No, it was the three. Wasn't it the three of us in the airport? Wasn't it the three of us in the airport? And like there was something you was trying to go into tea. I don't know, man. It was. Long story short, we had a bunch of police. You know what? We'll save this story. It was. We had like 10 police officers around us at DTW airport. It was just not a good experience at all, man. We've been through some shit. You know what? You've been through some shit. I've been a passenger.
Some may say the dark passenger.
Man, continue with this. Continue.
Well, next we have disorganized thinking, or speech. With this symptom, effective communication can be impaired and answers to questions may be partially or completely unrelated. Rarely, speech may include putting together words that can't be understood, sometimes known as word salad. Yeah, this is another one I identify with. Earlier on in my illness, I had what I called the Hunger Games challenges. I'll be talking about these later in the series episodes, but for now, I'll just say I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone for long breaths of time, as per my voices. Next up is extremely disorganized or abnormal motor behavior. This may show in a number of ways, from childlike silliness to unpredictable agitation. Behavior can include resistance to instructions, inappropriate or bizarre posture, or complete lack of response, or useless and excessive movement. This was one of the scariest signs of onset for my family. I would break out into planks out of nowhere.
Yeah, this dude would just literally drop to the floor mid-conversation and just do planks. Like, what the hell?
But yeah, like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, I would usually be minding my own business, and all of a sudden, boom, I got voices telling me to break out in a plank position, in the car, or on a bed, or even on the floor like you were saying. Next up, negative symptoms. This refers to a reduced lack of or ability to function normally. For example, the person may neglect personal hygiene or appear to lack emotion. doesn't make eye contact, doesn't change facial expressions, or speaks in monotone. Also, the person may lose interest in everyday activities, socially withdraw, or lack the ability to experience pleasure. Yeah, sometimes I'll skip a shower or two. Next.
Yeah, man, after listening to all that, in my opinion, if the person dealing with the mental illness or the people around them aren't able to comprehend the symptoms, then they're in for an extremely uphill battle. I mean, in the past, we both haven't been perfect at dealing with it, but we're learning, right? I personally remember how it all started, at least from my perspective, right? I remember getting a call from our mom a little over 9 years back. I think I was a sophomore in college at the time, and I think you were a junior in high school. And she called me crying. She was saying that my little brother, aka you, was saying that the media was bugged and saying strange things about his teachers, plotting things about his future without his knowledge, and that you were just acting strange in general. Just a bunch of random stuff. At this point, I hadn't experienced it firsthand. And when I typically get phone calls like this, I'd usually think people are overreacting. And at times like this, I can usually be a control freak. So I'm already thinking of ways to solve the problem or downplay all the things she was saying to me. And I think this was around Thanksgiving break. So I decided to come home early. Then when I got back, you were tweaking, bro. I can't remember exactly what was going on the first time, but it was at this point that I kind of realized, yeah, something was seriously wrong. And by the way, side note, FYI to like the 2 or 3 people out there listening, we're first generation American-born Nigerian kids. So we have the typical heavily religious African parents. Like, have y'all ever seen those clips on Twitter of African parents just busting out randomly into prayer in some of the most awkward moments? Yeah, so I remember like a couple points while all this was going on, my mom had definitely busted into character and hit me off with one of these.
Hold on, bro. Do the stance real quick. Bro, like you just be minding your own business and then bam.
Blood of Jesus! I command you to come down to my son and send these demons to hellfire. I cast them out in the name of Jesus.
Not the finger snap. No.
All right, we might be having a little fun here. But no joke, in African communities, African American communities, and from talking to some of my friends in other communities or from other countries, in general, parents from these backgrounds don't really have any concept of properly coping with mental health issues, at least when they happen in their own families. Honestly, my memory really sucks. This also isn't really my story. I think you should finish this off and give them the true Hollywood story.
Well, I got to give the people what they want, right? What they want to hear, you know that true Hollywood story. Well, usually schizophrenia's onset is between the late teens to early 20s for men and early 20s to late 30s for women, as per the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Is it now?
I'm currently 24 years old, and my first episode occurred when I was 16.
Aren't you 25 now?
Well,
I said an episode right there.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I'm 25 years old.
All right.
The first episode occurred when I was 16. It didn't feel like an episode at first, but let me tell you, it felt wild as fuck. Not good or bad, just scary new. I knew my life was about to change forever.
Scary new.
But I had to act like nothing was wrong.
Nothing was wrong.
I remember my mother enrolling me into an ACT standardized test workshop. Sponsored by a local Detroit college prep program. Wait, have you been hearing these ad-libs?
You know what? Just keep going. Just keep going.
I remember my mother enrolling me into an ACT standardized test workshop program, sponsored by a local Detroit pre-college prep group. I attended the first session and noticed that someone else that transferred from my high school freshman year was there. Mind you, this kid was rich as fuck. According to...
that fuck just sounded wild, bro.
Okay.
Keep going. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to let you tell your story.
According to people who knew the kid, and that... okay, this kid... Let me repeat this. Mind you, this kid was rich as fuck, according to people who knew the kid. And that's exactly when my paranoia kicked in. I started asking around how much it costed for the other students to attend. And they all gave me amounts around 500. I'm in this bitch for free and y'all gotta pay? I felt uncomfortable when people asked me how I got in because in my head, a plot wheel in my life was hatching and I wasn't gonna take it sitting down.
What? How do you make that jump?
Don't ask.
Okay.
I had already been complaining to my parents about how the teachers at school had made work easier for me. And I was under the impression that they were planning on pulling me out of the school for something even bigger. Now I started taking even larger leaps of imagination. There was buzz going around my school about how the rich kid didn't want to take control of his family's company. Around the same time, posters popped up around the school for a wealthy foundation called the Skillman Foundation. Cue Thanksgiving break. So I busted into my mom's room on my knock knock, I'm with the police shit. And then I said, what's going on with the school? Who's paying for my ACT program? Who's this rich kid? Why is the Skillman Foundation interested in my school? Why is the media bugged? You see, right about now, the pros would call this delusions of grandeur. But I'm not a pro. I just know that my heart is dead set on being a doctor, and this is a threat. I didn't and still don't care how much the pay for me as an executive would be. My crazy ass would not budge. At this point, I'm done asking questions.
Yeah, this dude went haywire. He ran out the house and grabbed his bike. I had to chase him on foot because no one knew where the hell he was going. We're leaving out a lot of details, guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened that got us to this point. So the culmination of all those things was what actually led me to chase him, because everything he was doing just made, like, nothing he was doing was making sense. While I'm sure the neighbors are looking at me like, this shit is funny, let me grab a seat. Eventually I catch him at the end of the block. He's shouting. I'm sitting there just trying to calm him down.
So he drags me back into the house, and I find out that my mom had called for help. She didn't know what to expect. Her friend gave her a number to reach out to for mental health, so she called the number, and they told her to call 911. She's already crying and shouting out, "Jesus, Jesus, no, no, no." I thought this was all fake, and that even the help she called was in on it. I was scrambling throughout the house screaming, take me then, take me. I ran into her room and started inhaling Axe body spray. I'm not sure what my thought process was here. I just remember doing it for some strange reason. After my family took away the Axe, I pushed through them clumsily, knocking some random shit onto the floor, and ran straight into the kitchen, where I found my mom's purse. Truth be told, I was looking for proof of all this shit. And there it was, the inhaler. Yup, ladies and gentlemen, my proof was an inhaler. I didn't know how this was important or why, but it was the trophy. I yelled at my sobbing mother, "Where did you get this from?" That's when the help arrived. We heard a knock on our door, and all I'm paying attention to is the living room TV. There it is playing again. Power by Kanye West. Jumping out the window, letting everything go, letting everything go. I'd been listening to the TV's commands, and this was no different. I opened up the door and saw, lo and behold, the boys in blue. This was a little bit before Trayvon Martin. Not much fear then, but now I'm very cautious with the police because I've had more than a few run-ins with them. Mind you, I was presently an honor student on scholarship at a high school featured in Time magazine for being the last private school to stay prosperous in Detroit. I see a big black guy with a round-ass belly. Not dark, but caramel. Caramel, actually.
Okay.
And then his white partner with the same build. I've come to refer to the big white guys as Jack.
Jack boys.
They always seem to handle it the same way.
Is there a problem here?
Yes, just take me, take me. I run outside the house trying to get into the police car. Here I am thinking I'm on Punk'd or something. The first black boy trying to get into and out of a cop car on the same day. They put me in. So literally a few seconds after they put me in the car, I start kicking the window saying, "Take me there, take me there." Then one of the officers says, "That's an MDOP, malicious destruction of property. We're taking them to Juvie."
Mind you, folks, we called the police to help us de-escalate this situation with a person that was mentally ill. And he ends up in a cop car. This is really, it's messed up. The fact that they just didn't have any protocols for dealing with people with mental health issues is it's sad. I mean, granted, this was years ago before it was such a common thing, but I don't know. It's almost like things could have just gone better without their involvement, to be honest.
So I'm going to outline exactly what I thought the grand scheme was. My mom was in the background screaming, don't take him, please. He's an honor student. I was under the impression that my mother had already agreed to let them pull me out of school. The rich kid's family was the owner of a company within the Skillman Foundation. They wanted me to take the ACT as proof that I could run the company because I had a high enough GPA. I just had to score higher than him. They wanted someone likable or an underdog or underprivileged as per the teachers. They also had to have firm moral ground. And they also had to have all of Metro Detroit on board so I could succeed, thus the media. I thought I could force them to make me meet the rich kid's family for an explanation. I bet you weren't thinking I planned it all out like that, huh?
Yo, to the 2 or 3 listeners out there that think they must have missed a few parts of the story and wanted to rewind, trust me, you really didn't. This is exactly how we felt. Me, my mom, and other family members, just by being bystanders in this whole thing. We had no clue what the hell was going on.
The whole police ride, I'm kicking on the window, handcuffed, ignoring the police and saying, take me there, take me there. We arrived there, otherwise known as Oakland County Children's Village. And I'm kind of confused, but still struggling in my...
Oh yeah, it was called Children's Village. It's kind of a screwed up name for Juvie. But whatever.
I'm kind of confused, but still struggling in my handcuffs, only making them tighter. And I ask, are we there? They say something along the lines of, sure, buddy. We get there, and they call on the intercom for the attendants. Can we get some help? The attendants arrive, and I'm still tweaking. They say handcuff him to the stool, and after that, we got it from here. One of the attendants asks, where are you from? I say, Detroit. He says, you go to school in the city? I reply, University of Detroit Jesuit High. His response was, really? That's where my grandson used to go. You're not trying to mess that up for yourself, are you? This is when I get suspicious. It all seems too perfect. Where does he go now? He said some school in the suburbs. I'm silent, but after that they say it's time to go for processing. I get up, follow the attendant, and I go for fingerprints. Next, this is one of the first times I starkly remember hearing voices. I go for mugshots. Then I hear the voices say,
Grin.